Shift in demand and supply curves. It says shift in demand or supply curves for a product will change. We change the equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity bought and sold. So here, there's an action through the demand curve. A change in the demand curve will bring about a change in the equilibrium. So the demand curve or supply curve changes first before price changes. That is the point they are making here. So that means we have to look into the curves before we talk about the price. Do you get the point I'm making here?
Yes.
Okay. The first one here. A shift rightward from D1 to D2. That means demand increases from D1 to D2. That's what it means. And as soon as demand increases from D1 to D2, what happens to supply? Supply contracts. If supply is contrasting, what happens to quantity? What happens to the price? The price will rise. Do you understand the first situation here? The first situation is that demand has increased. Demand increases more than supply. And as soon as demand increases more than supply, it brings about a rise in the price. I think that one is clear. For A, do you get A? For B, they said, for B, we have a fall in price. Yeah. No, a fall in quantity demanded, right? Quantity reduced from D1 to D2. And that would reduce the price from E to F. So the first situation is an increase in price, an increase in quantity demanded, and the fall in quantity demanded. An increase in quantity demanded would increase the price of a product.
No.
The first situation is about increase in price, increase in quantity demanded, which brings about an increase in the price. The second situation is that there's an increase, a fall in the quantity demanded, and that would literally reduce the quantities or the price of the products. Now to supply. An increase in supply from S1 to S2 will bring about a fall in price from E to F. You get the point there? The other one, here demand is increasing, at the same time supply is increasing. What will bring about an increase in demand and at the same time an increase in supply?
Will bring about
The quantity demanded increases here, and at the same time the quantity supplied increases. So what do you think will happen to price?
price would rise.
Price will rise. An increase in quantity demanded. Yeah, look at what happens here. The quantity demanded increases from D1 to D2.
Okay.
And the supply,
Also shifts leftward.
right, so from S1 to S2.
So price would rise.
Supply will rise. Then what happens to equilibrium? Do you think equilibrium, is there going to be equilibrium or disequilibrium?
There's going to be
Is this graph showing equilibrium or disequilibrium? Is this graph showing equilibrium or disequilibrium? Look at the graph. You have P2, Q1. Does this graph?
no, disequilibrium.
That is disequilibrium. Why is there disequilibrium?
Because Q1 and P2.
So there's disequilibrium here. So there's disequilibrium in this market because price does not, or quantity demanded is not tallying with quantity supplied, and price is not, there's no signal here. So the market is not clear here. Do you get the point I'm making here? Yeah. A, B, C shows equilibrium, but D shows disequilibrium. Do you get it or not?
Yes.
The market clears if demand equals to supply and price. That is equilibrium. But what we have here, the price at P1 brings about quantity supply at S2 and quantity demanded at D2. But the price is at P1, so this is equilibrium. At the price of P2, the quantity supply is S1 and the quantity demanded is D1. That is disequilibrium. Price does not tally with quantity demanded and quantity supply. A, there's equilibrium. B, there's equilibrium. C, there's equilibrium. But D, there's no equilibrium. So there's disequilibrium in D. Is it clear?
Yeah.
So the market will clear in A, B, C, but it will not clear in D. At this one clear?
Yeah.
These are based on increase in demand or increase in supply that changes the equilibrium. Any question about that? Okay. We go down. So we have consumer and producer surplus. Are you there? Figure 4.
Yes.
Consumer surplus starts where the demand curve start from. And producer surplus starts from where the supply curve starts from. Right?
Yeah.
So the difference between consumer surplus and the difference between consumer surplus and the market price. The consumer surplus is the difference between the market price and what consumers are willing to pay. Consumers are willing to pay all the shaded portion in blue until it ends at H. Consumers will still be willing to pay at that point. But what they are really actually paying is J. Do you get the point I'm making here?
Mm.
And for
Yeah.
producer surplus, they can as well sell at F, but they are actually selling at J. So HJG is consumer surplus, FJG is producer surplus. The shaded portion is producer surplus. Producer surplus is between F, G, J, because producers can as well sell at F, but they are selling at J. For consumer surplus, both of them are about the difference between the market price and what consumers or producers are willing to pay. That is consumer and producer surplus. Consumer surplus is the market price, the difference between the market price at J and what consumers will be willing to pay. So consumers can still pay at any point in here, but they're actually paying J. Producers can sell at F, but they're actually selling at J. So that's the difference between consumer surplus and producer surplus. I think that one is clear.
Yeah.
Okay. We move on again. Are you there?
Yeah.
So here, changes in consumer and producer surplus with a rise in demand. So the point about this is this: as soon as consumer surplus increases, producer surplus will increase. So as soon as demand increases for a product, both consumer surplus and producer surplus will increase. Do you get that? Change in consumer and producer surplus with a rise in supply. A rise in supply would also bring about an increase in both producer surplus and consumer surplus. Do you get it?
Yes.
While a fall in demand will bring about a fall in both producer surplus and consumer surplus. A fall in supply will bring about a fall in both producer surplus and consumer surplus. I think it's clear. Any question about that?
No.
So that's about demand and supply. Hold on, please.